I hear it before I see her, the sound of gold scraping against bone. My back is crushed against stone. Bodies are packed so tightly around me I can barely breathe. No one moves. No one speaks. Rome has learned how to be silent when it wants to watch someone fall. Today, we're here to witness a queen. She stumbles at the center of the street. Not dragged, forced to walk. Her wrists are split open, not by rope, but by gold. Solid gold chains wrap her arms, her neck, her ankles. Nearly 40 pounds of it. They pull her down with every step, so heavy that 2 Roman guards walk beside her, lifting the chains just enough to keep her face from smashing into the stones. The crowd leans in. This is the part they came for. That gold was hers 3 months ago. It paid her armies. Built her temples. Bought loyalty across deserts and cities. It made her the most powerful woman between Egypt and Anatolia. Now it's being used to break her? Her name is Zenobia of Palmyra, Queen of the East, ruler of an empire Rome failed to stop on the battlefield. And this is how Rome answers defiance. Because what's happening here isn't punishment. It's a message. And Rome has been perfecting this message for centuries. It's the year 274 CE. I know that now. But standing here, crushed into the street with a million others, time doesn't matter. Only the lesson does. No crown is heavy enough to save you. No victory lasts forever. And even a queen can be turned into a warning. Now it's killing her. Zenobia of Palmyra. Queen of the East. The woman who humiliated 3 Roman emperors and commanded 70,000 soldiers. Now she's reduced to a spectacle, dragged through Rome like proof that no one escapes. The crowd turns cruel. Rotten fruit bursts against her body. Spit sticks to her face. She can't wipe it away, her hands are trapped by her own stolen wealth. A child laughs. His mother lifts him higher. What we can't see is what's breaking her from the inside. One thought repeats with every step. A prayer whispered since dawn. Not save me. Not give me strength. Just 3 words, let it be the villa. She knows what waits at the end of the road. 2 doors. One leads to a quiet life in captivity, displayed as a Roman prize. The other opens into a pit carved into the Capitoline Hill, where Rome makes enemies disappear. For kilometers of not knowing. For kilometers of smiling faces deciding her fate. For kilometers of praying to gods who never answer. This is how Rome treated captured queens. Not once. Not by accident. This was a system built over 700 years to crush powerful women. Zenobia was lucky. The others weren't. Before you can understand their fate, you need to know what a Roman triumph really was. Forget the stories. Forget the movies. A triumph wasn't a parade. It was a warning. When a Roman general won a war, the Senate granted him a march through the city. The route stretched for kilometers, from the field of Mars to the temple of Jupiter. Rome shut down. Over 1 million people watched. Even slaves were freed for the day, so they could see what happened to the defeated. First came the sound. Trumpets and drums echoed for nearly an hour. Then came the carts. Endless wagons piled with stolen wealth, gold coins, silver plates, sacred objects ripped from temples built over centuries. The crowd cheered. Rome was richer now. Then came the paintings. Cities burning. Soldiers dying. Palaces looted. Roman artists painted the destruction as it happened. People laughed when they recognized the flames. Then came the animals. Exotic. Terrified. Dragged from the ends of the world. And finally came the captives. Alive. For now. underscore 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 underscore. Creatures from your homeland come next. Lions trapped in cages. Elephants dragged forward in chains. Strange birds locked inside golden prisons. Proof that Rome didn't just conquer your people, it claimed your land, your world, your identity. Then the noise fades. The crowd goes quiet. The drums slow. Because now come the prisoners. Common soldiers first. Hundreds of them, chained together, shuffling forward with their heads down. They already know their fate. The slave markets are waiting. Their lives as free men are finished. The crowd barely notices them. They're waiting for you. The captured rulers walk at the front of the column. Still dressed in royal clothes. Still wearing crowns and jewelry. That part is deliberate. A beaten peasant means nothing. But a queen in silk and gold, still recognizable, still royal, now wounded, exhausted, and dragging chains, that's the message. It echoes across the ancient world. No crown protects you. No army saves you. No throne is out of reach. And here's what the movies never show you, the uncertainty. Some captured rulers survived the triumph. They were exiled. Imprisoned comfortably. Even absorbed into Roman society. Others were killed the moment the parade ended, taken underground to a prison called the Tulanum. While the city celebrated above them, they vanished forever. Names erased. Bodies unseen. You never knew which fate awaited you until the walk was over. That not knowing was part of the torture. For queens, the choice was colder. A dead queen became a forgotten name. A living queen, broken, humiliated, visible, was a warning that lasted for years. That kind of fear was often worth more than execution. Unless she was too dangerous to keep alive. The decision belonged to the emperor alone. You wouldn't know his choice until a guard either handed you keys to a villa, or carried out your sentence. In 60 CE, on a cold island at the edge of the known world, one queen learned exactly how worthless her crown was to Rome. Her name was Boudica. She was queen of the Iceni, a Celtic tribe in what is now eastern England. Her husband, King Prasutaris, spent his reign trying to keep peace with Rome. He paid their taxes, obeyed their laws. He even left half his kingdom to Emperor Nero in his will, a desperate attempt to protect his family after his death. The other half he left to his 2 daughters. It was a compromise. Reasonable. Legal. Rome ignored it. Days after Prasutaris died, imperial officials arrived with soldiers. They declared the entire kingdom Roman property. The will meant nothing. The alliance meant nothing. Loyalty meant nothing. They began taking everything. Iceni nobles were dragged from their homes at night. Estates held for generations were seized before dawn. Relatives of the dead king were chained and marched into slavery while their children watched. Boudica protested. She was the queen. Her husband had been a Roman ally. There were treaties. There were laws. She demanded to speak. Only silence. Maybe they were captured. Maybe they suffered the very fate Boudica tried to avenge. We'll never know. Rome made sure of that. 40 years before Boudica soaked Britain in Roman blood, another queen learned that sometimes staying alive is the cruelest outcome of all. Her name was Thusnelda. Her suffering wasn't written on her body. It was carved into her bloodline. She was the wife of Arminius, the Germanic leader who handed Rome its most humiliating defeat. You might not recognize his name, but you know what he did. In 9 CE, he lured 3 Roman legions into the Teutoburg forest. 15,000 soldiers marched in. Almost none came out. 3 days of slaughter in rain and mud. Sacred Legion eagles captured. The commander Varys killed himself rather than be taken alive. When word reached Rome, Emperor Augustus, master of the world, wandered his palace for months, striking the walls and screaming into the dark, "Vis, give me back my legions." Rome never forgot. And it never forgave. When they couldn't capture Arminius, they went after his family. Thusnelda was betrayed by her own father. His name was Harshest, a Germanic chief who had opposed her marriage from the start. He believed cooperation with Rome was safer than resistance. When Roman forces returned to Germania looking for vengeance, Harshest saw his chance. He kidnapped his own pregnant daughter and handed her to the legions. Let that sink in. While she carried his grandchild, he traded her, and the unborn heir of Arminius, for Roman favor. For safety. For approval from the empire that despised his people. Rome was pleased. They didn't have Arminius, but they had the next best thing. They kept Thusnelda alive. Imprisoned, but breathing. She gave birth in captivity to a son named Thumulus, the heir of Arminius, the grandson of Rome's deepest shame. They waited. In 17 CE, when Germanicus had won enough victories to claim a triumph, Rome made its move. They paraded Thusnelda through the city in chains. Imagine it! A Germanic queen walking through streets packed with Romans who had lost fathers and sons in that forest. Her infant son pressed to her chest. The crowd didn't just jeer. They screamed for the baby's death. Mothers pointed and told their children, "That's the spawn of the monster who killed your family." Stones flew. One struck her shoulder. Then another. Soldiers closed ranks around her, not to protect her, but to keep her alive long enough to finish the parade. The writer Strauss expected her to break. To beg. To cry. She didn't. She stared straight ahead. No tears. No fear. Nothing for the mob to enjoy. What Strauss couldn't see was what she whispered to the child against her chest, in a language Rome didn't understand. "They will not break you." She never finished the promise. Because she already knew she couldn't keep it. Thumulus was raised as a Roman slave. The son of Arminius, trained as a gladiator. Think about that. Romans ate and drank while prisoners fought for their amusement. And somewhere on that sand stood the heir to Germania's greatest hero, bleeding for applause. The emperors knew exactly who he was. Every wound was revenge for Teutoburg. Every victory proved Rome had broken Arminius's bloodline. The crowd never knew. To them, he was just another barbarian fighting to survive. That was the point. A prince reduced to nothing. A legacy erased one fight at a time. Did Thumulus ever know who he was? Did anyone tell him his father was a hero? That his mother had been a queen? That he was meant to lead, not die for cheers? Or did he grow up believing he was nothing at all? We'll never know. Rome made sure of that. We'll never know, because Rome made sure no one recorded it. The sources say Thumulus died at Ravenna, lost in the arena, the last of Arminius's bloodline. His life ended on the sand while Romans cheered and ate their lunch. No one wrote down his final opponent. No one remembered his last words. He was just another dead gladiator, another body dragged away while the crowd waited for the next fight. That was exactly what Rome wanted. Thusnelda herself disappears from history after the triumph. No record of her death. No mention of how she lived. She likely spent her remaining years as a household slave somewhere in Italy, scrubbing floors, serving meals, taking orders from people who wouldn't have been worthy to carry her sandals when she was queen. Did she ever learn what happened to her son? Did whispers reach her through other slaves? Did she die hoping he was still alive somewhere, still fighting? Or did she die knowing the promise she whispered during the triumph, that they wouldn't break him, had been shattered before he could even remember her face? She had stood beside the greatest Germanic hero of her time. And she ended as property. Her husband dead. Her son erased in the arena. Her father living comfortably as a Roman collaborator, rewarded for betrayal. That was Roman mercy. Not death. Not spectacle. Just the slow grinding erasure of everything you ever were. That's what Zenobia was thinking during those 4 kilometers. She knew about Boudica. Every queen knew about Boudica. The story was passed down as a warning. She knew about Thusnelda. About the sun raised as a gladiator. About bloodlines destroyed without a blade ever touching them. So when the gold chains crushed Zenobia's wrists, the pain wasn't just physical. She was calculating. Would Aurelian execute her? Hand her to his soldiers like Boudica? Keep her alive as a trophy, watching her children absorbed into the empire that destroyed her? For kilometers of those thoughts. 1,000,000 Romans screaming for her blood. At the end, she got the door that didn't lead to the execution chamber. Emperor Aurelian made his own calculation. Zenobia was too famous to kill. For 5 years she had ruled an empire across the Roman East. She minted coins with her face. Called herself Queen of Egypt. Styled herself as a new Cleopatra. Executing her would turn her into a martyr. Letting her live told a better story. Look at her. She challenged us, and now she lives by our permission. Aurelian gave her a villa in Tibere, about 30 kilometers from Rome. A gilded cage. The Historia Augusta says she married a Roman senator. The warrior queen became a Roman housewife. She attended dinners where guests whispered. Walked markets where people stared. She raised daughters who never knew the empire she built. They learned Latin, not Aramaic. Worshipped Roman gods, not those of Palmyra. They married into Roman families. Their children grew up Roman. Within 3 generations, Zenobia's bloodline vanished into the empire. That was Rome's genius. They didn't just defeat enemies. They absorbed them. Turned conquered bloodlines into citizens who praised the empire that erased their past. Boudica chose death. Her rebellion killed 70,000 Romans and failed. Her daughters vanished. Thusnelda lived. Watched her son die for entertainment. Spent her life as a slave. Zenobia survived. She had comfort. Status. But every day she woke knowing she existed only because Rome allowed it. Was that mercy? Or was that the most refined torture of all? The Mamertine prison still stands. Tourists visit it. Take photos. Drink espresso in streets where queens once walked in chains. We've cleaned the blood away and called it history. Zenobia lived out her life in a Roman villa. Comfortable. Watched. Dependent. Her servant said she woke shaking from nightmares. That her eye sometimes drifted, lost in memory she never spoke aloud. That she prayed alone in a language Rome could never erase. She never returned to Palmyra. When she died, she was buried in Roman soil under a Roman name. Almost erased. But not completely. Boudica's story survived. Thusnelda's story survived. Rome wanted silence. 2,000 years later, someone is still telling their story. Silence is not erasure. Forgotten is not gone. If this reached you, subscribe. We dig up what history tried to bury. Because the past isn't dead. It's waiting in the dark.